You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. Now, with the Morning Magazine, here's Carl Hilke.
Thank you, Jerry, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's show on AM 1320 and streaming live at WFHR.com. We also welcome our buddy Jesse from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. They're here recording this in high definition for viewing on their fine website or on your local public access channel, depending on which system you are on. And the reason why, it's time for our Wood County update. Wood County Board Chairman Doug Machon joins us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Carl. Nice to be here. Hi, Jesse.
Jesse's always in a good mood.
He is.
I guess you and I, just talking a few moments ago, said it was a rather uneventful county board meeting. It was kind of quick yesterday.
There was actually 9 resolutions in the packet. They all went quickly. They were fairly pedestrian. And I think, as far as I know, and Jesse might be able to be a better judge of this than myself, but I think it was a record time county board meeting. I'm thinking 25 minutes, 35 minutes at the most.
Oh, wow.
So we took care of business pretty quick yesterday. I think Vice Chair Rosar made a point yesterday during that meeting that was effective in saying that it doesn't mean that everything that we don't take our business seriously and that we just rush through things. Most of that work is done in committee beforehand. These are kind of procedural things at times, and that just kind of was the way it happened yesterday.
Well, you bring up something there about committee work, because Mayor Verwink has made that same comment about city policy and city council meetings and like it. The real work of governing, or if you want to have input, is at the committee level. That's when the real debate happens.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. I encourage people a lot of times when people come to me with problems or issues, I tell them the biggest bang you'll get for your buck, so to speak, is to get to a committee meeting. A public comment is allowed at all committee meetings. Every chairman runs it a little bit differently. Some are a little bit more liberal with their public comments, allowing people to comment during the time on the agenda that particular issue arises within the committee. Others require them to make a public comment at the beginning of a meeting. I guess while we have a chance in it, and this show, a lot of people listen, and sometimes they don't always understand a lot about government, and so
right.
It's an opportunity for me to explain it. When you make public comment, it doesn't mean you're going to get into a dialogue or a conversation at a committee meeting. You're allowed to make comment, and that's what it is.
Make your argument, present your case.
You're not going to get into deep, in-depth discussions with a legislator or a supervisor regarding a topic. There's not going to be a debate, but you're going to be listened to, and you will be allowed to voice your opinion.
Okay, and so if you have a particular issue involving a particular committee, that's the time when they want that input before it gets to the floor of the county board, because then it can be too late sometimes.
Boy, I think that's exactly the case. In most cases, it is too late. Decisions have been formed. Most of the times when a committee, and I'm not saying all of the time, but most of the times, if there's a unanimous committee decision coming to the full board, it will pass the board. The board is going to accept those recommendations from a committee. That's basically what they're supposed to do. There may be split decisions in committee. There may be committees that aren't sure about issues that bring those decisions to the floor for that purpose, to get more input from a broader base of supervisors. And that happens on occasion. But generally, if a committee brings an item to the full floor, it will pass with the committee's recommendation.
I guess we got some listeners you wanted to say hi to this.
Thanks. I had the great pleasure of meeting in all places. My wife was up north. We have a place in UP, and my wife was up there a couple weeks ago. And so on Sunday afternoon, I was kind of looking for something to do, and I decided to take a drive over to the Wild Rose Fish Hatchery. Okay. On a Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful grounds over there.
Yes, I've been there. That is very nice.
And I love big trout, so I went over there, and there was a couple walking around behind me with their son, and I noticed them, and they kind of seem to be following me, and he says, "Are you Doug Machon?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." Are you the Wood County Chair? Yes, I am. And it happened to be Jim and Elaine Balzer, and so we talked about some county issues, and they said they listen to the show quite regularly, which I thought was great.
Hey, we like that. I like that too.
Absolutely. So I want to give them a shout out. I had a pleasure meeting them. It was a great conversation. We talked about a myriad of issues, and it turns out that Jim actually is a real good friend with my wife's uncle, who lives in Mosinee. Also,
Small world.
And also another listener called me following last month's show and expressed that he enjoyed listening to the show and talking about government, and that was a guy named Harry Green.
Okay.
So I thought that was very interesting, and I wanted to commend those people for listening
and interacting.
Learning. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Now, the last time we talked, you had put out a charge with your budget letter to the various department heads. You wanted this 1% cut. Mm-hmm. And so how is that going?
Well, along the budget front, most of the department budgets have been handed back into our finance director, Marla Cummings. And so we're in the process now of having those departmental budgets either going through their hearing process, committee hearing processes, and then they will come to the executive committee, and we will have a general budget hearing at executive as well. We did ask for the 1% operational tax levy. And after that letter went out, we actually kind of got a kick in the pants because we found out that our health insurance fund was probably getting precariously low. I mean, it's not that we were in any acute danger, but it was at a point where we thought, oh, wait a minute, we better address this year rather than wait another year. So we had to up the departmental inputs monetarily on that fund, which basically raised what we had projected we were going to ask for by approximately another 4%. So, ironically, on top of asking for the 1% reduction in operational levy, we tacked on another 4% for their insurance. And amazingly, and I'm quite impressed by this, a majority, I think it's fair to say probably a majority of the departments, maybe 50%, I don't know the exact numbers, came in flat, which I thought was incredibly good work. If you could come in flat with those two prerogatives, you've done some pretty serious budget work in my mind. And that was the case. So I'm pretty pleased with where we are. Hopefully we're looking at some increased sales tax numbers. We've got some properties that we want to sell. We've got a number of things that can help us. So I'm optimistic.
You're optimistic. Is the goal to keep a no tax increase for property taxpayers or minimal?
Minimal. I would say minimal. I think it would be foolish to say that we're going to keep it the same. I don't think that. I would guess that right now that's probably not practical, and I would hate to put that out there and then have to back off on it. Minimal is always the thing. Our program costs increase constantly. Another thing that we've done through the budget process, which has been very exciting for me, is that we've had departments take a look at their revenue streams and adjust some things that haven't been adjusted for years, and to take a good hard look at at some of the things that we may not need. So that's been very encouraging.
Okay, can you give us some examples?
I really would love to. Next month I will.
Okay.
But this month I think that's up to the committees to share that through their hearing process and get the public feedback. I don't want to steal thunder or cause controversy. So I will relinquish that to the committee.
Okay, so, but bottom line, taxpayers should be maybe prepared to, or county residents prepared to maybe pay more for certain services, and maybe some services might not be available or might be delivered in a different way?
I think that's accurate. And I think that we would never advocate or accept cutting a service that's needed for the sake of cost or it's mandated. We talked about mandates last month.
Right.
So you're locked in on some of those things. So you try to do them as efficiently as you can and as responsibly as you can. And that's the way it goes.
As this process continues, what is becoming the top three priorities right now in terms of the budget?
The top, well, roads is always the top priority.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't, I would say that's probably a toss-up. I would say human services, because there's so many mandated things. And, of course, roads are probably, if you want to classify it, an implied mandate. Mm-hmm. I think I stated last month, I don't think anybody's going to be happy if we make our roads in Wood County gravel. We could do that. We could save a lot of money doing that. But the fact is, so it's an implied mandate. Human services, we have a lot of mandates, and then I think you can throw the rest out to a lot of areas. Parks are a big deal for us. Parks are a big deal. They're a revenue driver. They're something that the public demands. We also know that particular area can be a great economic stimulus and driver. And so we need to look at them that way. And there's, health, of course. Health is always in the forefront.
Now, you mentioned the quality of life issues. You need good roads for your infrastructure, for your business development. No business is going to come to a place that doesn't have decent infrastructure, and the quality of life to recruit workers and the like. They say young workers now look at the quality of life before they even look at a job.
Yeah.
And so it's a different dynamic that you're working with in this era, say, than 10, 20 years ago.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because it's going to become even tougher. And one of the things that's going to make it tougher for us, especially when you're talking about the demographics and the type of professionals that you want to attract, the Foxconn project is going to suck engineers from rural areas like crazy. I was talking to Lance Plimmel yesterday, and we came on the subject about millennials and that demographic as far as the professions they do and where they're going to go. That project is destined to draw something like 300 engineers immediately. That's a lot of people, and that's going to make it tougher for an area like Wisconsin Rapids, Marshfield, Wood County as a whole, to draw those types of people to the businesses that need those types of engineers. If you're going to compete with living down there and the culture that they tend to want, you're going to have some pretty good draws to get those people to come and live in your communities. And I think we need to address that sooner rather than later.
So how do you address it?
Well, I think one of the things we do, I see I had a talk with, actually had one of the things I've done since last meeting too is I had the pleasure of going out and introducing myself to the Ho Chunk Nation. I really look forward to developing that relationship. There's a lot of things that we do as a county that we collaborate with the Ho Chunk. And I had the pleasure of meeting two of their legislators, and I was invited to an area legislative meeting. Larry Walker and Kathy DeCamp, both great people, intelligent people, good legislators, I'm sure, for their nation. But I really want to develop that relationship. We collaborate on a lot of issues, and I think there's more things that we can work on. And I want to establish that relationship. But that leads me to the point, I talked to Rick Bukovka, who heads the Reggie Group, and we began talking about the airport. And it's right in front of us there, whether it's a county, a municipality, township, however you want to express it. But we have people flying $25 million jets into Wisconsin Rapids to play around the golf. To me, that just screams of opportunity. And so certainly I do, and the executive committee and the entire county board wants to explore the opportunity that may present itself there. How we do that, I don't know. But I think that we need to get off our butts and get after it a bit before that opportunity, because we don't want those planes flying into the Wisconsin Dells because we haven't done the right thing.
So you're talking about maybe additional amenities at the airport.
That certainly could be an option. I don't know, Carl, I don't know what the options are. I know that we need to find out if we have any, what they are, and then we need to see if they're viable for our municipalities and our county government in general. We have to, it's one thing to carp about revenue streams and not having revenue, and then having opportunities in front of you that, for lack of vision or lack of fortitude, you don't explore.
So I would imagine then you'll be keeping in contact with the members of the Airport Commission and like folks like Mayor Verwink, town board chairman in Grand Rapids, and the like, to keep a dialogue going.
Absolutely. I'm leaving this meeting and going to meet with the airport manager for the first time.
Okay.
Since I've been elected.
Jeremy, yeah, he's a good man.
We're going to have a general discussion. There's nothing on the table. There's nothing there. But I think it's important for the county to understand what is needed there from his perspective, maybe perhaps from some of the clients that are there. I have no idea.
Right.
I don't know what it's like to fly my jet across the country to play around the golf. I have trouble driving my truck to Tri-City.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, but I think that's a very valid point, because I've heard, things like these pilots are used to having things like a private airport lounge where they can can rest and have Wi-Fi connection and do what they need to do while their client is playing golf, so that they're ready and rested and ready to fly them home safely.
Absolutely, and those are all good things. And if we can do something in those areas, we certainly want to take a look at it, as well as and back again to another really project that I'm excited about, and that's the Powers Bluff project. Yeah. I just had breakfast with a guy, and we talked about the Powers Bluff project. Nothing in particular, but off-road biking race series are huge, and they draw a lot of bikes. This man that I had breakfast with has a son that races in what's called the Wisconsin Off-Road Series.
I think I've heard of it.
It's like 10 events throughout the state, different venues where they race off-road. 750 to 1,000 bikes per weekend at these events. Powers Bluff is absolutely an ideal location for that type of activity. So how long are we going to wait to develop something that can be meaningful for the county, not only from possibly revenue? And I don't know that you can look at revenue a lot of ways. You can look at it increased sales tax. You can look at it as user fees, however you want to look at it. But it still can drive economic development as well, and that's what we're talking about. That's a key, and that's if you want to draw people to your location, and you have something that's desired, something like that, then I think you're obligated to take a look.
I'll give you an example. Here in Wisconsin Rapids, the BMX track.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what a wonderful job.
That facility was developed, and when it was developed, there were a lot of people questioning, why are we doing that? And they've had national events there.
Yes.
They've had state events there. I mean, that thing is busy almost every weekend in the summertime.
That's a great observation, and my wife and I bike past that a lot because we'd like to ride out around Wazeecha and come back. And what a great facility. Those people have done a fantastic job. And I don't know if you've ever attended an event there, but they are well run. They have good concessions. It's a clean ground. It's a beautiful racetrack, and they draw a lot of bikes.
Yeah, and every once in a while they've had some fireworks shows out there to celebrate a big event out there. Really? So they've.
Wouldn't it be interesting to find out what the economic impact of something that is seemingly small? But, those people travel.
I would just check with the Sports Commission. Yeah. The Sports Commission.
Those people travel to those events.
Oh, yeah, they travel.
My neighbor kid runs them, and he's running events in Fond du Lac. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going to Fond du Lac, you're probably going to buy some gas down there. You're probably going to feed your family while you're down there. You're probably going to pay some entry fees, maybe.
Yeah. People forget that when you travel, I just traveled Pam and I did to Hartford for a family reunion. Well, guess what? We stayed overnight. We ate overnight. We had an economic impact on the city of Hartford.
Sure.
In the state park there.
Did you visit Holy Hill?
We've been up there.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. But I mean, we had an impact on, and I'm thinking any time we get visitors in here, they're going to do that. You mentioned the sale of some properties. Which ones are the priority right now that the county is trying?
Well, we have two. Well, actually three. I'll classify it as three. We have three properties for sale, and they're generally in the same area. We have our old Human Services building on 12th Street, which is a pretty big building. It's more of a professional type setting. I would say it would be suitable for a number of things. Possibly, I don't know about the particular neighborhood, but a clinic, possibly a big law office. I think we had some people look at it for possibly a church. There's a number of churches around that area. So that's more of a professional building. It's a fairly newer building. We also have a house on Airport Avenue, a large house. I want to say it's 4 or 5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
I
remember when it was a house.
Yeah. I remember when it was built. I actually grew up in that neighborhood, so I can remember when it was built. And that was a CBRF for us. And that was a non-mandated program that we eliminated a couple years ago. So that property is for sale. It's had a lot of activity. We've had a lot of people look at it. And then we also have the lot that used to be the old Copper Top Lounge, I believe it was, on A Street, right just south of Walgreens.
Right.
They're on the right side of the road. That one's for sale, too. So those are all properties that want to meet. It's funny when I was looking at that property on A Street the other day, driving out that way, and it's amazing how much commercial frontage is available on A Street right now. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes it's a matter of promoting it.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, we've tried a number of ways. The funny thing with the airport is we're trying to sell it ourselves, which we would like to get as much value, as much of the value of that property for the county as we can. The price we're asking is very reasonable. I have some background in real estate. I've talked with Lance Plimmel again on that as well, and we're having trouble. But I know that the minute we turn it over to a real estate agent, it'll be sold the next day, and we'll have to pay the agent a big cut on the commission.
So at what point would you do that and just say, let's just get this off?
Well, that's going to happen very quickly because I think the county treasurer, Heather Garrett, mentioned to the executive committee yesterday morning at our meeting that we had put it on a 90-day. We were going to extend it to try and sell it ourselves for 90 more days, and I think that runs out at the end of August. So I would imagine that maybe on September 4th at that executive committee meeting, we may be, I can't speak for the committee, but we may be turning it over to a realtor at that point.
At that point, do you have to put that out to bid for a realtor?
No, it would just be a straight sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but how do you choose the realtor?
How do we choose realtors? Hey, that's a good question, Carl. I think that would be up to the committee, and the committee will probably decide.
Okay, because I was wondering, does a realtor make a bid on it? I'm
sure we'll do some shopping. For sure, we're going to try and get the best deal we can, like we do with everything. So,
you plan on heading to the Central Wisconsin State Fair this week?
I hope to get time. I definitely want to play golf, and I don't want to go when it's raining. Friday looks like not a good day to go there, apparently. Yeah. So, but yeah, I would try to get up there on probably. I think my son's got me signed up to play a golf scramble on Saturday. So
where's that going to be?
It's a fundraiser. I believe it's at Homestead for. I can't remember. I asked him what it was for, and he told me. But they're trying to raise money for a drug dog in Nakusa.
That's great. A great cause. Well, have fun with that. Have fun with that. Yeah. And golf scrambles are always fun.
Oh, I love them. Sometimes when I'm golfing with just my son, we play two-man golf scramble. Just bar golf.
Yeah, I just speed it up. Anything to make the game a little less frustrating.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Well, as always, Doug, I appreciate the update, and I guess. Next month, we'll get more details on what's happening with what we can expect with the budget.
Absolutely. Okay. My pleasure, Carl.
Okay, take care.
Yep.
That's Doug Machon, Wood County Board Chairman, wrapping up part one of today's edition of the Morning Magazine. And we also want to thank Jesse from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media for being here as well.